on day 10 of lockdown, and we are here and we are talking. As promised on yesterday's vlog, I'd have Tash with me today to talk about what we've been debating between the two of us over the course of the last week or so, and it's the thorny issue of lives versus livelihood.
What stimulated the discussion is a really interesting article by Tim Harford, where he looks at the economic cost of lives with less than 1% death rate and the economic cost of livelihoods that are being sacrificed during these lockdown periods in various countries. Now, whilst we might not be getting into the nitty-gritty of the economics and numbers behind these costs, I think it's an important debate. What has been disturbing is every time this debate rears itself on social media, we've noticed an immediate shutdown of the conversation, where anybody who is starting to make these cost trade-off, the accounting on these cost trade-offs, is being seen as callous and cutthroat. In a developing country like South Africa, it's very difficult, in our opinion, to be able to separate lives and livelihoods. We have high dependency ratios with single income earners taking care of 6 to 7 people in their network. When that income is lost, nutrition is lost, education is lost, and there are dramatic repercussions on the social structure of that family.
So in South Africa's circumstance, the looking after lives under COVID-19 lockdown is going to compromise livelihoods, which may actually knock on to compromising lives. And that's a very different circumstance to many advanced countries where they don't have to make the choice. In fact, they can choose both. They can not only look after lives because of access to healthcare, but they can look after livelihoods because of access to the fiscus and financial flex. Cases in point, the United States, a $2 trillion rescue package. Norway has gone to their sovereign welfare fund, which they've been building over decades. And in the UK, if you lose your job as a consequence of COVID-19, 80% of your income is protected.
So it's important that we flatten the curve. It's important that the health ministry, the doctors and the epidemiologists are dealing with COVID from a health perspective. But we cannot forget about resuscitating the economy and doing the health checks on the economy from the economic side. Now, failing the fact that we don't have the fiscal space like the Norways and the US that we've seen or that you've described, what do we do? What do we do on the economic front? Because we've seen that needs as much attention as the health front.
So here I'm going to borrow from the article that I've been tweeting furiously over the course of the last 2 days, and that's Arundhati Roy's article where she talks about the pandemic taking us to the portal. And the portal is a moment to step through and to invent a brand new world. If we drag the old world that got us here, the world of dirty skies, dead rivers, dead forests, and we take that exact same world into our new circumstance, it's only a matter of time before we find ourselves here again. So here is the chance, not for us to pivot, but for actually to step through the portal and to build an entirely different world. One of the critical ingredients of that world is recognizing that South Africa's industrial architecture doesn't support the world we so desperately want.
We have very few small businesses and a highly concentrated economy. This has meant high unemployment rates because small businesses are where lower skilled people get their employment opportunities from. And what we're seeing in the environment around us is these critical small businesses are collapsing. They're falling like a house of cards. They need the foot traffic, they need the trade to be able to pay their workers. And this isn't happening.
So they're the most vulnerable. And this is not about anti-big business. Big business is critical to any competitive economy. But South Africa tends to be characterized by a small number of large firms and then a poverty of mid and smaller sized businesses. So part of stepping through the portal is making sure that in stepping through, we build a landscape and we have a fabric that will support and look after these critical job multipliers. In the absence of that, South Africa, I think, finds itself in an even more socially and economically stressed circumstance.
So to not speak like an economist, in my world, we need to save the small businesses. These are the jobs generators.
And you've been doing some great stuff at Yes in not only establishing jobs, but establishing jobs in collaboration with.
Yes, so our team has got a very keen recognition that the jobs of the future are not only going to come from big companies, but that we need small businesses to generate them. So our team, particularly under the lead of our CTO, has been training coders to create coding jobs, but we are going to employ them on behalf of small businesses, creating e-commerce platforms, getting catalogs of their products online, creating sexy websites for them. And this is a way in which we're using lockdown time to really prepare and assist these small businesses in being able to come out of this and still able to trade and still able to get their employees back online and start paying them again.
And to add on to your example, or to enrich your example, Johanna Figuera in Venezuela builds an initiative called Coding for Crisis. Now, this is a country that's gone from the poster child of development economics into deep economic distress in the space of years. And they've used coding initiatives to close down information gaps, to provide access to resources, to build small enterprise. It's a fantastic example that we can borrow from other places to bring to here.
So if we come back to the South African example, we've seen my team at Yes doing some really great things to support small business. We're seeing Adam Cracker, who's created this lovely team under the name Cobra, which is there to help small businesses who don't have the resources or bandwidth to be able to navigate this kind of circumstance and assist those businesses. So lockdown does not mean lockout. We still need to, on the economic front, pull together, and we need to be able to assist small businesses and other organizations to rebuild that social structure. That is our stepping through the portal. That's what we're both going to try to do, is how do we imagine a future where we are supporting and trying to create a more inclusive economy.
So we're seeing dozens of initiatives, hundreds of initiatives in this landscape that show us the way to step through the portal. An example of is a company that we're invested in, where they have reduced pay at the executive level by 15%, middle pay by 10%, and the lowest pay by 5%, recognizing that it is the lowest pay that are the most vulnerable, but that if we all pull together here, we can look after livelihoods in order to look after lives. And so our challenge to you is to share with us on social media examples, models, cases, instances, because crisis is a time to pull together, to learn together, and to share.
We sometimes forget the wider world out there. If you are lucky enough to be a salary earner whose business has been able to look after you in this time, you're in the minority. But we're also the minority that have privilege and access to resources. Let's make it work for everyone.
So please keep sharing, stay safe, stay home, stay healthy. See you tomorrow.